It's all good.
My name is Kristen Wong Tam, your city councillor for Ward 27. These are my colleagues. I love you too. As the only out member of the LGBT community who sits on city council, after the October 28th election, I'm hopeful and perhaps happily thinking that I might be joined by a few more. But joking, not joking aside, I'd like to acknowledge and begin our proceedings and ceremony by acknowledging that we are gathered here on the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the New Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and Toronto is home to many diverse Indigenous communities. We are under the bright blue skies, all co-stewards of the land and water. We have an obligation to honor treaties, to work hard and build true and meaningful reconciliation. We are part of this incredible journey, an involving story on Turtle Island. I'm so proud to be your MC. Today, the Pride Festival in Toronto is an internationally recognized event that celebrates diversity, freedom, respect, dignity, human rights, and love. But it hasn't always been this way. Individuals who identify as LGBTQ2S needed to come together to advocate and overcome adversity as a community, to build and fight for acceptance, respect. It was not easy for us to get here, although every year we gather here with very little effort. But the journey here has been long, and it has been fought. Governments don't generally freely hand out human rights. We had to march, we had to riot, we had to organize, and we had to politically rise to demand the right to be seen, the right to be heard, and the right to be treated as human beings. That's okay. You can applaud. Our inclusion into the social fabric of Toronto should never be taken for granted, never. But here we are, on the rooftop of City Hall, the House of Democracy. We are celebrating love and diversity and the freedom to be who we are. This year, the LGBTQ2S community has another reason to come together. Our community has been rocked by tragedy. The last several months have been a time of grief, frustration, anger, and uncertainty for so many in our community. As we gather today to raise the rainbow flag and the transgender flag, we also need to celebrate the vibrancy of the month ahead. That we will do very shortly. But for now, I'd like us to take a deep breath and just to be gentle and respectful with each other, and to know that we are here in support of one another in this very difficult time. We as a community need a moment to recognize the victims of recent violence and heinous crimes that have targeted members of our community and the church in Wellesley Village. And we need to come together and recognize that what has happened in our city is historic. There is no precedent, no template of healing that we can draw upon. And we need to recognize that every single way that we grieve and rise from this tragedy is okay. There is no right or wrong answer. And there will be years ahead of us where we will have to sort out and find our way forward as a community. But I know we will be able to do it because we will do it together. Let us focus our attention and our breath together in this space as we hold space to allow for this grieving, as we move forward together as a community, before we move on to our month of renewal and celebration.
This is an important event that happens each year in the life of our wonderful city. But this year, as Councillor Wong Tam said, it carries a special poignancy as we have all just stood here together to acknowledge and remember the missing and lost individuals within the Church Wellesley community. And I know that this has been a difficult year, not just for the LGBTQ2S communities, but it's been a difficult year for all of us who consider ourselves a part of those communities and a part of this broader community of Toronto. We have been confronted with unimaginable acts of violence against community members, and as such, that means those are acts of violence against our very way of life that we so cherish here in the City of Toronto. And I've tried to work hard together with Councillor Wong Tam and with the communities to ensure that the pain is acknowledged and that the voices and concerns of the LGBTQ2S communities are heard as we go forward, because we know that people are feeling anxious and unsafe. Their trust has been threatened, and we know that they have questions that need to be answered. And I can commit to you right now those questions are going to be answered through various processes. It will take some time. We have questions not only about why these lives were lost, but about the LGBTQ2S's community's relationship of trust with the city in general. During Pride Month and all month, we acknowledge that systemic barriers are real, are still real, that discrimination and bias are still very real, and that threats of violence and persecution are real, and acts of violence are still real. And so we have to work hard to confront these issues, to address them and to tear them down each and every day, all of us, in everything that we do. And I just want you to know that as long as I'm privileged to have this job, I'm dedicated to supporting this community and all communities that face barriers to opportunity and who must confront issues of their own safety and inclusion simply as a result of who they are. It takes time, it takes dedication, it takes perseverance, but we can bring about change. In fact, people who came before me and before us that are here today fought hard, as Councillor Wong Tam said, for that change, and we, those of us here today and others who can't be, will continue to do that together. And we must never feel defeated in that work. We must never feel defeated, no matter how slow progress. But Pride, too, is for everybody who's looking for the key to full inclusion, to full respect, full security, full opportunity. And it's a time when we as allies reconfirm our commitment to that work. That have to be said, but I'm looking forward to a joyous, fun celebration and the ongoing community building and partnership that it will inspire. I mean, heavens above, what's going to happen this year thanks to the work of Pride is I think they've made it possible for that most revolutionary of all developments, never before seen in Ontario at a large event where you can actually take a drink and carry it down the street. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure those watching on television there is a 0% chance that dogs and cats will be running around in circles because of this revolutionary development brought about courtesy of the Pride organization and changes to the law. Yes, well, that's actually, yeah. Joe's been making reference here to breaking the law in past years. I can't, of course, associate myself with any of that. But having said all that, may I just make one more mention of something that is serious and important, and that is that the theme for Pride in 2018 is 35 years of AIDS activism, to focus on the continuing struggles. And I think it's very important that, a lot of people out there think, and we've made huge progress thanks to all the activism and all the work and the fundraising and the research and wonderful places like Casey House, but there are still a lot of problems. There are still groups disproportionately that have HIV rates much higher than others, and so I think this honor bestowed upon that part of the community and the attention drawn to it is an appropriate way for us to make sure that we don't forget that that's something that still lies in front of us. I now want to just read the proclamation here, which celebrates the fact that we are home to the largest Pride celebration in North America, one of the premier arts and cultural festivals that we have in the city, showcasing diversity and inclusion and creativity, and to tell you that it goes together with a commitment on the part of this council, and I'm sure it's speaking for all of you, to make sure that we continue to be at the forefront of efforts to eliminate homophobia and transphobia and empowering people to stand up against any form of hatred and discrimination, including against these communities. And I'm going to ask the co-chairs to come up and receive the 2018 proclamation in gratitude for their hard work. And it says as follows: Whereas Pride Month celebrates the history, courage, and diversity of Toronto's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, intersex, queer, questioning, two-spirited communities and allies. The 2018 theme of Pride is 35 years of AIDS activism to focus on the struggles of people living with HIV/AIDS and honor organizations that take action to support those living with and enduring the stigma surrounding this disease. Pride Month in Toronto is the largest Pride celebration in North America, one of the country's premier arts and cultural festivals, showcasing diversity, inclusion, and creativity. The City of Toronto is, and I'm going to add in here, and will continue to be at the forefront of efforts to eliminate homophobia and transphobia while empowering individuals and communities to stand up against hatred, intolerance, and discrimination. The City of Toronto is committed to promoting fundamental human rights and enhancing the safety and quality of life for those who are at risk of experiencing discrimination or violence. Now, therefore, I, Mayor John Tory, on behalf of Toronto City Council, do hereby proclaim June 2018 as Pride Month in the City of Toronto. And I'd ask the co-chair to come up and speak.
Thank you, Mayor Tory. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kevin Mbali, the co-chair of Pride Toronto, and I'd like to personally thank all of you for joining us to kick off the 38th Pride Festival and the 3rd Pride Month. Today we raise both the rainbow and trans flag in what has become an annual tradition. The raising of these flags is a sign for people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities that indeed Toronto affirms and welcomes them. It is a powerful message for thousands of people, old and young, who come to Pride for the first time this year to find a place in our community. It is a sign of freedom for the newcomer who will see this from their new home, that they can be who they are. And for those of us who have fought for this tradition to be possible, it is a strong reminder of what happens when we work together to create a city that is truly inclusive to all of us. Our LGBT community here in Toronto has a proud history of challenging discrimination and leading in the advancement of civil rights and equality. These achievements I have never taken for granted. We saw that just this year, the Peel Board of Education debated on raising the Pride flag, which they have, to support their LGBTQ+ youth in the region of Peel. Round of applause for that, that's amazing. So one of the things that I enjoy the most about Pride Month is seeing our flags and messages in support in institutions, in community organizations, and in businesses. You can literally see how diverse we are and how that's wound up into a fabric of what makes up this city. I want to thank Mayor Tory and the City Council, including those who joined us here today, for their continued leadership, which has sustained the work that our community has started many years ago. We have harnessed all this energy to create a festival that we can truly be proud of. For the next month, we will take over museums, parks, theaters, and village to create a platform for queer and trans arts and culture. The festival for many of us is important. It's an important moment to celebrate our chosen family or our family of origin, build relationships, and have a unique experience. We will kick off the festival next Thursday with our launch party at the Arts Gallery of Ontario. Our partnerships with the ROM, the Ripley's Aquarium, and the Toronto Symphony Orchestra continue to create new ways for us to create celebrations. Pride is also about returning to the familiar. In 1971, Toronto's first Pride-style celebration was on the island, and this month we will return to Henlands Point for another all-day dance party. Our community has reached out to us to expand the festival, and we've expanded our festival footprint for this year. This year, we invite you to explore new venues with us, like the Wild Water Kingdom. If you want to stay tuned to some of the events, go to our website and download our app. June is just the beginning. We will continue to expand these celebrations and critical conversations year-round. Now I'm going to introduce you to Erin.
If we are to create a greater sense of belonging and freedom, we must ask ourselves what we can do as part of that, while holding the institutions that represent us accountable as well. We hope our programming inspires you to take action. We will return to the leadership that started it all by reflecting on the activism and leadership around HIV/AIDS through a series of human rights panels. And we honor Casey House, Canada's first and only hospital for people living with HIV/AIDS. This is a celebration of our collective survival. We will also honor the lives of those we have lost. We hope to see all of you at the parade on June 24th, where we will do both. We will take over Yonge Street with over 150 floats in the largest expression of queerness in North America. And as the parade ends, we will invite you to join us for the Until We're Safe March to commemorate those we have lost in the queer and trans community over the years. This festival would not be possible without the dedicated efforts of our incredible staff, our over 60 year-round volunteers, and our 1,200 weekend volunteers who work tirelessly to make this festival happen. I want to thank our volunteers, staff, and board of directors. As we've grown, they have shown up in droves with passion, expertise, and a love for community for which we are truly grateful. And in that spirit, we hope that all of you here today know that you are seen, that you are heard, and that you are loved for who you are. Thank you. Happy Pride.
So thank you, everyone. This brings us to a formal conclusion to the ceremony of the flag raising. There is a barbecue that's been organized. You're all welcome to have some food. We want to thank the sponsors of the barbecue, Katapsa, and I think QP. Thank you very much, and happy Pride Month, everyone.